and my angel, my darling Sean Dyche, manager of Watford football club, is here. So I looked at the lads and went, it's nice to get a name check, isn't it, lads? I just let him carry on. So I do go to gig on my own sometimes, just because you can float into a gig, you see. You know, you float in late-ish just as it's going to start, float out just for the end, couple of beers. No one's really that interested in you because they're all watching the gig. Especially good gigs, or they're going to look at you when that's right in front of them. When you ask the musicians, well, for one, the usual thing is, not all, but they go, I'd love to be a footballer, and I'm going, I'd love to be a singer. Or in a band, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the whole point of this podcast.
Because music's, forever, isn't it? You know, football, you can only go so long. Although some keep going forever and ever, it seems, but I don't think I will.
Right, we've sat down many a time and spoken. But is it for you?
Not as casually as this, mate. Usually sticking mic in your face, asking them tricky, awkward questions.
We've had one or two chats over beers over the years as well.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair,
yeah. But is it a pleasant change for you, rather than talking, I don't know, decisions, VAR, points deductions, relegation, whatever, just to be talking music?
It is. In spite of us being in a football background, just to touch on that, we all know people have a job. We all know that. Managers, players alike, but some of it does get tedious, you're right. Some of it is a bit like the same question over and over again, does get a bit like, really? And it is nice to add a bit of flavour to a moment rather than just going through football questions and the same old, so yeah.
All right, I think a part of it is people only see you through one prism. So they see you as a football manager, what you look like, what you sound like, and they think that's your entire persona.
Yeah, I think you get that, and I think that's built over the years. I don't fight against it because it's part of what we do. Once you're in that box, don't fight out of it. Just that's the way it is. People do put you in them situations or them thought processes amongst other people, and it spreads like wildfire. That's just modern media, social media. So let's go, all right. But most people, I'd like to think when they meet me, good or bad, by the way, they probably think I am slightly different. Still same in many ways, but slightly different about my actual life. We often get, say going back to the football thing, we get business people ask if they can come in. So when they come in and they see what we do and everything, they are considerably misinformed of what they thought they were going to see and what they thought they were going to get involved with until they come in, and then they go, right, okay, there's a lot more to what you do, first of all professionally, and probably more to what they thought of me as a person. Not always, but often, I would say.
Do you think that the main misconception is that what you do is far more nuanced, far more scientific, and far more strategically led than they had imagined? And perhaps, if I may be so bold, even more so in your case in particular than other managers, because of your perceived persona, your physicality, your voice, everything about that whole picture. If you put those things together, they're even more surprised.
Yeah, and if they don't know much about you and they've only read what they've read in the media, then like say they do form it, but not their fault. They've already got an opinion before they meet you, before they know you. So that's not always their fault. It's just part of being in professional. Well, not just being in professional football. Obviously, as you well know, Premier League is massively covered. So you're getting hit by all this information a lot. So if you are coming into an environment like this, see me in a more natural environment, but you're probably coming in preconceived ideas of all these messages, all these hits, all these opinions that people give before actually meeting you. But that's just part of life. I think we're all a bit guilty of that. If you are meeting someone who's a public figure or some form of a public figure, which the Premier League makes you, you don't always want it, but it makes you just by the massive amounts of media that you have to do, often opinion, often misled opinion, often misguided opinion, often misreported opinion, as we know.
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
No. I was looking anyway. The good thing about speaking is that people get a better chance, or viewing is that people get a better chance to form their own opinion. When it's the written word, as we know, a conversation, our tonality, our body language, our use of words is way, way different in written format than what it is when you watch someone delivering. And I think that is the bit that people forget.
Yeah, you get a more complete picture. So given that, and look, one of the reasons we wanted to come on Football Music and Me was because everybody knows you're a massive music fan, always have been. But when you meet people at gigs and when you meet people at festivals, is there still an element of surprise from people who didn't know that? Say, what's he doing here?
Yeah, I get a bit of that still, yeah. I I go to Rock City a lot, well looked after kindly by the people who own Rock City. George Aitkins particularly always leaves me a couple of tickets if I ask him. Doesn't take a lot back, I always offer it back. Never take anything for anything, or never take anything for nothing, I should say. A lot of the artists are very, very kind when they hear that you're around, or their management and stuff like that. So I must say there's a lot of things that are intrusive in your life when you're in the Premier League and a manager and all that, but there are a lot of doors open. Some very, very generous people. I think it's always right to name check and Melvin Benn, who's Reading and Leeds Festival, amongst many other things. That's an incredibly generous man to myself and friends and family. Simon Moran as well from SJM. I mean, tremendously, not just generous, generous with their time, generous with how they treat. Yeah, thoughtful. Because they understand that, if you're trying to have a night to relax and enjoy yourself, they'll try and put you in a position where you can. And that's not offensive to people. Most people are really good. As you know, most people you meet are actually really, really fun, and they get on with you. They're generally just good to you. There's a tiny percentage, as we both know, who always have to ruin it for everyone else, or try and ruin it for everyone else. It doesn't happen very often. It can happen at gigs, but not very often, actually, because most people are there. It's a different mindset at a gig. That's what I like about it. Different for me, but I mean different for the people you're around. Most people have gone there to have fun. They've gone there to enjoy it. Football can be like that, but as you know, they can go there to let off steam. They can go there to get involved in the moment. With music, it's very rare people go there for anything other than to just have fun, whatever form of fun that is. Mine is just the gig atmosphere. There's certain bands, of course, certain genres of music that I really enjoy, but I actually just love going to gigs. I mean, I've seen the variance of gigs, before we go into the detail. I mean, I've seen Pink, who's awesome, Rihanna, amazing. From that right the way through to Metallica, the old stuff. I was in Spiral Carpet Snappy Mondays on Saturday and Stereo MCs in Nottingham. Stiff Little Fingers, Spirit of Destiny were recent in Nottingham. That was my first ever gig with Stuart Pearce, who got me on the gig bus, as we used to call it, as a young player. That was my first ever gig in Rock City, and they were back there, after all them years. So I went just really with a lad called Lee Glover, who was a young player at Forest.
I remember Lee Glover.
Yeah, he came and we had a couple of beers and watched a gig. Love that, and everything in between. Kasabian, massive fan of theirs. I've got to know him a little bit, especially Serge Pizzorno and his family. Huge fans of them. And so many in between. I mean, so many people I've met, which are just amazing. And they always do that weird thing where they can't get over how much I'm asking them about them. Because they want to ask you about you, of course, because a lot of them, not all, are football fans. So they, often they want to join in with you about you. And you're actually like, I don't really want to talk about me, actually, because I'm fed up of talking about football.
You missed out Elton as well.
Sir Elton. Well, I think most managers say this. When I was manager at Watford, and slightly so when I was assistant with Malky, but whoever's the manager, he really takes you on board as part of the club. And he certainly did me. It only lasted 1 year, but he was very helpful just in phone calls, very understanding at that time of the situation. It was an awkward time for the club to come through. Probably one of my odder moments, actually, was not so much meeting him, but being asked to call his place in France, and then, someone answers, and they're almost like vetting you on the phone because they're thinking, who's this mad, fool with this gravelly voice? And then him coming on the phone and saying, all right, sweetie, darling. And I thought, marvellous. That's definitely you, Sir Elton. That is for sure.
Can you testify? Sorry, Sean. Can you testify as well to which everybody tells us, and I've had a little bit of experience personally. There's not many people in football, let alone football, certainly not in music, who know as much about football as Elton John.
Oh no, he's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. He'd be telling us about possible players we should be looking out for because he's seen games. He's seen I don't know, at the time, like a championship game or a Div 1 game, so that was at Watford, of course. He'd mention players, he'd ask about players, how they were playing, their form. I've heard that so-and-so's good, doing good things, and so-and-so's good, doing good things. Massively into it, without a shadow, particularly about Watford and his history and his connection with the club, the area and everything. It's all real. It's all absolutely authentic.
Were you astounded just how much he knows about football?
Yeah, it is. It's a bit surreal because, again, you're sitting in front of an absolute music legend and he just wants to talk to you about football, and you're in his personal company in his dressing room. I always tell me it's one of my funny moments and sort of magic moment. I was with Ian Wone and Tony Loughlin, who's managing with us, coaching with us. And we went to watch him in Birmingham. So I went to see him before the show. He invited us, so we go in, a few photos and that for the girls, and he's just chatting away, and then he goes, "Oh, I suppose I better go on and start." And I'm thinking, for one, absolutely rock solid, doesn't look like there's a single bit of anxiety or nerves in him ever in his life for this moment. I'm just going, which I can't believe. "Oh, better go on." So we go out to our seats, and just as we sat down, he said, "Just let everyone know, blah, 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 we're here to play a great concert tonight and everything. And my angel, my darling, Sean Dyche, manager of Watford Football Club is here." So I looked at the lads and went, "It's nice to get a name check in it, lads." I just let him carry on. So just a funny little quip for us, you know what I mean? But it was so surreal. I was like, this is so weird, It's like a rock legend, just been in his dressing room. He says, "Oh, I've got to go," as if like I need to make a cup of tea or something, you know what I mean? It was the most bizarre thing. So.
Gaffer, do you mind? Just got to pop on and do a couple of numbers.
That sort of thing, yeah.
So you've got a really eclectic taste in music.
I have.
What do you think shaped your taste, if that's
no
possible?
doubt, family life as a kid. Mum, dad, I remember things like the death of Elvis, my mum crying. I was only really young and sort of asking, "What, Mum, I can't work it out." And she said, "Oh, Elvis, one day you'll understand." And as I got older, mum and dad, I'm thinking back now, the Animals and stuff like that playing, and my two older brothers. So the good thing about being younger, I was already, when I was like 7 or 8, you start just touching on the punk scene when that came in, the mod scene, the ska scene, going through all that. Then came the new romantic scene. So you're just picking up all these, influences in music as you're growing older. And because I had two older brothers, I was always in front of the curve a little bit. And then, my eldest brother, so a bit of rock comes in with AC/DC and all that. David Bowie starts coming in, and it was just when I look back, of course, you're learning without learning. I wasn't looking for it. It's just there every day in the house. There's different music playing. Brothers are older than me. They're going off out and nights out and all that sort of stuff. So when I kind of come of age and went to Nottingham Forest as a young lad at 16, I'm very fortunate. Me and Stoney got injured quite badly. We broke our legs, and Stuart Pearce had a rare spell of being injured. It was probably about maybe 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. And when you got hamstrings the size of his, right, if you pull an hamstring, it's going to take you a while because his legs are ridiculous. And he sort of took his wing a little bit. So even when he went to Chesterfield, he'd always say to Woney, he'd say, "Look, get Dyche on the gig bus." So it was him that really started me off, actually going live, by the way. That's my point. I was always into it. Went through, then it was the party sort of acid house scene, and that was growing through the country and dance music scene. Very fortunate enough to go to the Hacienda a few times before that shirt, and there was a place in Nottingham, the club, which turned into Venus, which was right through that stage. Then, of course, the arrival started coming over the Manchester scene and how that linked in. I think all these influences are going down the years. The only thing I would say is from all these mixes of music and all these things that I love about music, I must make it clear, and I say this to a lot of people, I don't mean this, but I'm not like one of them who knows every album, every word, every song. I just know the bits I like and I know what I'm there for. And it's not always to know all that. It's to just feel what a gig is. Just feel what other band are producing and what they're producing and all the energy that brings. I love that feeling. I absolutely love going to gigs. I go to a lot on my own as well, by the way.
Do you think it was Stuart Pearce who influenced you in that direction? Make you realise the difference between listening to music and going to music?
Yeah, definitely physically reaching out and started going to gigs. Because a young lad then, I don't know why, I suppose, considering how much music I liked, I'd never really jumped on it, buying tickets, going to concerts and jumping in cars and travelling, and all that sort of stuff. He was the one who organised it all. Obviously, sometimes locally at Rock City. Sometimes, I remember going to see like Big Country and the Jam and the Stranglers, or from the Jam by then, the Stranglers, and travelling around with him, more locally, Leicester, Spirit of Destiny, Leicester and Leeds, and obviously Rock City mainly, and Nottingham, Birmingham and stuff like that. And now and again a gig would come around and he said, "Right, get Dyche on the gig bus." So that was it. So we go. Minibus, paid Chaz the grounds, a great fella. Give him a few quid, a few beers on there, and a little mixed group of footballers.
This was when you were there, though, and certainly at Brian Clough's Nottingham Forest, whether it be training ground or at the City ground, no music in the dressing room.
No, but that was an era thing. I don't think that was just purely Brian Clough. I mean, I didn't, I make that clear to him. And of course, I had some experiences under Brian Clough, but I didn't make it into the first team.
No.
He did have a big overseeing, as you well know, of the reserve teams and the youth team as well. He beat a lot of games. I think that was an era thing. I mean, I think it was mainly, if you remember, I think this is right. I think the Wimbledon squad, the Crazy Gang started the
Wimbledon.
big boom boxes,
Vinny.
and it's sort of because they were quite relaxed. I think it started spreading throughout football. I'm not saying that was the moment, but I think that was quite big. Yeah. And certainly, from a Forest point of view, it was always dead quiet in the dressing room. That's it. Just everyone goes in, gets ready to do their work. Manager says a few words, not always lots of things. Looking back, simplicity was probably genius. And everyone got on with it. So the music came later without a shadow of a doubt. When I went over to Chesterfield, the sort of Crazy Gang thing where I thought it started, the music started spreading. So we'd have a little boom, not a big thing, just a little thing in the corner, and it's sort of definitely in training on a daily basis, and then sort of before the manager spoken at games. So yeah, it kind of built slowly, I would say.
You were the skipper there for a lot of that time.
I was.
Did you take charge?
No, I've never really been into that. I've done my fair share of, shout outs on it, and someone put something not so good on, let's put it that way. Give it out, give it a bit of acid getting sprayed about the music.
Who put the tapes together, and what were the tracks you asked for on it?
I can't remember all of the people who took the tapes, but you'd have you'd have some players, which still to this day I couldn't get my head around. I'd sort of want love. I remember Labby Sifri coming on before I go like, really? I'm like, really? You're going to get up for a game on this? I remember thinking that. I was thinking a bit heavier than that. You know what I mean? So yeah, down the years, I think it was a different era then. I think players just kind of, they might get one or two really into it. I mean, really into it, where they'd want their music on. But most it'd be whatever was around the scene at the time. I remember Millwall, we had a really tight-knit squad there, still have now, still keep in touch with a lot of them lads. Some of the younger lads had some hits from a season and stuff like that. I remember at Burnley particularly, the early days, Sam Vokes was like that. He'd do a playlist which was kind of all the songs around at that time. And now, of course, they're very memorable because of our first promotion and all that sort of stuff. So that group still bonds on the songs. The Millwall group still bonds on certain songs. So, yeah, I quite like that idea as well. But it wasn't always me. I just joined in.
Well, obviously, you were a massive part of that success at Burnley. So either there or maybe Chesterfield when you're in the semi-final, are there any tracks that particularly remind you of really good times in your football career?
I remember simply the best playing at Chesterfield at Old Trafford. It was an amazing game that it was, 3-3 last minute and all that sort of stuff. I remember that playing and just thinking, that locked in a moment. And then funny enough, when we had the second promotion out the Championship at Burnley, the bus driver, Alan, who's a really old boy, just randomly put it on the way to the game, and the lads will sing along to it because we'd already been promoted, of course, but we wanted to win it, and the lads will sing along to it. So I've got two big memories for that song. So that was a good one. Waves, that was a big one at Burnley because it was approaching the end of the season, and I think we were away somewhere. We took the lads away. A couple of nights out, some big results around that, and that song was really, really, really part of the group at that time. So now and again, Trips will still send me a message, and play it, and that when he's had possibly a half a lug shandy. I always reply, obviously, when I've had half a lug shandy too. So yeah, some good memories. As
a coach, do you see the benefit of music as a psychological tool?
Definitely. I think it can start off, it can ignite a room, if it's quiet and sometimes players are edgy, and, it can ignite a good song, bad song, locked in song, memory song. All of them different things, and I think most people would say that. I know a lot of, I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of sports people and go into certain environments, it'd be rugby or stuff like that, and athletes and all sorts who will use music or listen to it as a collective. And the players, of course, individually nowadays. I mean, in our day, like I say, it was more of a generic thing, but now they have earphones or cans or whatever they want in the dressing room. They find their own way about what they like and what stimulates them, I think, because music is I find music very stimulating. Good, bad and indifferent. Good mood, bad mood, it can alter your mood, I think.
That's an interesting one, players with headphones and different coaches we've spoken to, in that, do you think it's good that they have their over-ear headphones on and they're in themselves, or it's better when it's they don't have them on because on the bus, as they go into the stadium, it's more of a unity thing?
I think in the Nirvana world, you'd want headphones off, in my opinion. Everyone's in it together, but it's a modern game. Certain players, if they're in the group and they're delivering as part of the group, then fine, you have what you need. You know, whatever stimulates you, whatever gets you in the moment to deliver, then that might be important to you. Some, I would suggest, probably don't need that to get in the moment. I mean, I've had the famous one with people who wear them because they're like trying to look trendy, and then you see them nodding to the song that's on the stereo, so I'm thinking, you ain't even got them on. You know what I mean? That's just like a look thing. Oh yeah, I've had that one. I've called it, I just picked it in the ear and I said, no, you're not fooling anyone. Everyone knows you're listening to the song. So yeah, I've had a few of them in my time. But no, I think as you get older, you have to relax your thinking a little bit, because what might suit the group doesn't suit you. And as long as they're on board with the group and they'd want to deliver as part of the group, then so be it. And
of course, as well, part of getting older as well is new generations bring their music. How do you ever, if the lads have got something on in the dressing room, do you ever say any chance of mine on there as well?
No.
Would you get laughed out of course?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think
it's theirs.
I think a few of the players down the years, well, as you do more interviews, it opens up a bit. I've known I like music, then I'd go to gigs and that. So no, I think they'd probably know that I know enough about it and enough tracks to sort of roughly be up to date. And got kids as well. My lad's just turned 21. My daughter's coming up 19. So, you know, you hear their stuff along the way and they send me stuff. And sometimes they're into gigs I'm into, sometimes they're not. So, yes, but it is my thing, though. I mean, I do take it as my thing. You know, like I mentioned earlier, so I do go to gigs on my own sometimes. Just because you can float into a gig, you see. You know, you float in late-ish just as it's going to start, float out just for the end, a couple of beers. No one's really that interested in you because they're all watching the gig. Especially good gigs, why are they going to look at you when that's right in front of them? You still have to do a few selfies now, which is a bit odd. People ask you odd questions, which is, you know, I always find that a bit like, well, a gig, why are you bothering me with that? But that's part of it.
Best gig you've ever been to?
Do you know what? It's so hard. You know, you've got things like, the reason it's so hard, because I'm into it, is you've got things like atmosphere. So for atmosphere feel, I'd not long been sacked out of Watford. I got my first link through Tony Loughlin, who know Rich Pizzorno, Serge Pizzorno's dad. Reached out to him. I said, look, Tony, you do us a favour. You see if you get some tickets to go and watch them at Brixton Academy. They were growing and getting bigger by then, obviously. And he got some tickets and went down there, and that was awesome. Because I remember, you know, you've been sacked, you're a bit fed up. Nice group of me staff all came out with me. We met down there, and I thought they were awesome, and I thought, yeah, that's top. And the atmosphere, the moment, everything. So that's one that stands out to me. Say, like, I remember going to watch many years ago with Stuart Pearce, and a few of the players at Forest and girlfriends and all that at the time, Simply Red. Now, not because I'm not overly into every song they've done, but the quality of his voice. I remember I was young then in the gig scene. I remember thinking, God, he's knocking it out like, he was like the first time I'd seen this thing when you think, that is bang on. I mean, a lot of them do it now because the demand has got higher. You know, bands I know who've been on it for years, say back in the day, they'd all be getting mangled and just going out and playing, and the crowd would be the same. Now there's a lot more angle to being, you know, to delivering. As you know, tickets are more expensive now. The venues are better, they're bigger. So there's a lot more of a corporate edge now. So most bands now, it's very rare I've seen a band who are miles off. Very rare now.
They're at it.
Yeah, they're at it. Yeah, it's much more precise. It's much more real and authentic, but also it's delivered, really delivered. And I've noticed the difference down the years. And when I speak to the ones I know, they say, yeah, there's a bigger demand now. There's a bigger demand for you to deliver, you know, not just go out there and be part of the party. You've got to actually deliver for the party to have a good night, sort of thing. So I've noticed that.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, an answer.
They've been up there.
It's not a really good answer because there's that many. I was at DC Fontaines. I thought were awesome at Rock City. The old school stuff, you know, I still like that. Bands I've seen many times. Kasabian are probably the ones I go back to all the time. I do know them, but I mean, it's nice to just keep going back and they keep knocking out the park. And even for Serge, to step in as front man, I think that's really difficult after Tom doing such a great job. Took it on and has done a brilliant job. So stuff like that. I tell you, I'm jumping around here. I'm definitely going to see, I won't say where, who I thought were awesome at Glastonbury, the Hives. So it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's hot. Everyone's a bit like unsure because the day hasn't really started. Everyone's just having a couple of drinks or whatever they're doing. And the Hives just smashed it. And I remember thinking, no, that's decent because it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's boiling hot. absolutely brilliant. Rick Astley was amazing there doing the Smiths, and I went to see Rick Astley in Manchester recently. Got to share numbers and all that kind of business. Fantastic fella that he is, still smashing it out. You know, like I say, you don't be into every song.
No.
But to listen to them when they're doing their businesses, and he certainly can. The Foo Fighters, of course, incredible. I've seen them. Like I say, I could roll off so many. Even Metallica, not really my thing, but they put on a show. You know, it's a proper show. Green Day were another one. Green Day knock it out for. It just feels like 2 hours of high octane, non-stop, smashing the life out of song after song. You can't not like it, I'm telling you. That's my advice for anyone who's not seen Green Day. I don't care what music you're into, just buy a ticket and see Green Day.
What, because of the level of performance?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just because, well, you know, I mean, some people wouldn't be into that, but I saw them with Stuart Pearce, me and Mona, and I was like, he said, you've got to see Green Day. He almost bullied me into seeing Green Day. And I went, right, okay, we'll meet you. And he was right, they're just different class. Absolutely high octane. Stopped all the nonsense, stopped mid-gig. Bass players still keeping, put your phones down. So put your phones down. You're not with me. He said, you're not with me. To feel what we do, you need to put your phones down and be with me and remember it for yourselves, for the person next to you, for everyone in this building. That alone, I thought, genius. Put genius. So all them things, you know, all these experiences at gigs. So rubbish answer to your question because I can't pick one, maybe Brixton Academy. So many I've had so many good times to at varying gigs. And not always massive names and all that sort of stuff. Just great laughs.
What do you think for you is the difference between gigs and festivals?
I personally love atmosphere at festivals, the shared atmosphere. It's very rare in my experience you get trouble and problems. I went to Glastonbury first time this year, and you know, people just in a good mood, people just want to enjoy people. Even they come up to you chatting, you know, they often do ask you music questions, a little bit about football, and let you just be. So that's really good. Personally, I think the quality of music, I personally prefer it inside. So inside closed arenas and stuff like that, and smaller gigs if I can. I prefer that kind of atmosphere. But like I say, the atmosphere at a festival generally, the good mood, the good feel, is really, really a nice thing to experience, I think. Leeds and Reading the same, fantastic there. You know, a bit younger that one, but I know Melvin and he kindly looks after me a little bit. Liam Gallagher, Noel Gallagher, saw him. I took the staff to see Noel Gallagher. He was excellent in Liverpool. Liam was incredible. I think he's doing good stuff, you know, on his own accord and all that sort of stuff. I was down at Nebworth. I was at the original Nebworth to see Oasis.
The original
Stuart
Nebworth?
Pearce. Yeah, Stuart
That's
Pearce.
probably one of the best concerts.
Different because the enormity of it. You know, it was so vast, so big. It was so, you know, my memories of that. Stuart Pearce organised that limo full of us, picked up from the airport. They'd flown back in from a tour. Me and a lad called Macca, who was like Britpop footballer. Still a great lad, still see him now and again. We were in it, go down, get to the gig, Creation Records tent, 1 or 2 free lagers always helps, and then out for the main gig, main event. And it was just so vast that at the moment in time, you just go, good, but, you know, it's just a vast gig. Of course, now let's look back and as being iconic, but people who, well, in my view, people who remember that, of course, at the time, it doesn't feel like that. You don't know, do you? You just had a gig.
Yeah, it was a great gig at the time. I had a brilliant weekend.
Yeah.
It's only decades later you look back and think, I was at one of the moments.
Exactly. But that's why I reflect on it with a bit more kind of steadiness, because at the time I wasn't thinking that. I was just thinking, this is proper, this is decent, but not like, oh my goodness, this could be an iconic gig. And then very fortunate enough to go back and see Liam there.
Could you be a manager of a band?
I highly doubt it. I think you got to understand how bands can work, and it's hard with teams. I mean, but it's a bigger concern, and I think bands have a more, you're on a bus together, almost living on it for weeks on end. I can understand why the volatility can creep in. The ones who've been doing it for years, who share everything, I think this is right about you two, awesome, of course, seeing them, but I think they share everything. Literally a 4-way split, and that probably saves trouble. I don't know, but I imagine things like that. But to stay that connected for so long, I think that's an art in itself. Because they live in each other's pockets, and I think you have to have an underbelly of just getting on, or respect, or whichever way it is. You want to get on with each other as people, like a band of brothers or sisters or mixed group, or there's like a respect that is so high, you just say, no, we're all going to stay connected. You know, that's what we're going to do. And I just had another one flashback. I think it was, jumping back to the subject, I tell you what I thought was awesome, but because I wasn't sure about the feel of it, but it works, it's Coldplay. You know, with the wristbands and everything. You know, you're not sure, you know, I thought, I wonder if that's going to feel right for me. I wonder how I'm going to get involved with that at Wembley. Awesome. You know, I thought, no, it works. I thought, it just works. The whole thing works. You know what I mean? The way they deliver it, the way they get everyone involved, the music, of course. So things like that, people like them stay connected, keep knocking the live shows out, bringing out new albums, bringing out new music.
They're professional.
Yeah, Kasabian the same, just keep playing out and bringing new songs and playing the classics, not losing sight of their past, in my opinion, smashing out the bangers, but drip feeding in new songs, you know, just bringing the audience along. Getting all them different generations over years to like them. I think that's amazing to keep doing that.
I did see a picture of you at Glastonbury in a cheeky bucket hat.
Yeah, I seem to get, it's the weirdest thing that gets traction, as we know now. Bearing in mind I got ginger hair, it was hot. There was no I wasn't trying to be, look at me being trendy, trust me. I was thinking, what are you going to wear? And you think, well, a cap don't really do it, so your neck gets burnt. So I thought a cricket hat, and I thought, a bucket hat, not a cricket hat, you know, the big long ones. I thought, ain't going to work. So I thought, bucket hat, it's kind of on the vibe and get away with it. I didn't get away with it. It got smashed all over the place.
It looked fine.
I took 2. If I go again this year, I'll have a lot more than 2. So then when they keep doing this, they go, how many's he got?
I was just relieved you didn't have a white shirt and tie. Because you don't mix things up sartorially as a manager, do you? You're straightforward.
No, but there was an origin to that.
Go on.
When I was at Watford, Adi Boothroyd came in and took over and did an amazing job, especially straight away, got promoted and all that. And then when I became a coach there, he brought me back in as a coach there. I don't know how we were rambling on one day, like we used to. I used to ask him about how he's, you know, what he's doing and how he's doing it and all that. And it got mentioned about a suit, and he said, you know, I did that. I said, no. And he said, well, I was a pretty unknown lower league footballer who got a managerial job. And as we were going up the ladder and we started winning and we were pushing, he said, I was having a go at the ref one day trying to get his attention. He wouldn't look at me, so I went and knocked on his door. I said, by the way, what's that all about? How could you not hear me? I'm trying to get your attention. I just wanted to ask you something that was relevant to the game, and there was a stop in play. He said, Adi, I didn't know who you were. Well, your staff looked the same because you all had training kit on. So he went, bang, clocked it and went, right, that's different. So he got a suit on. So I thought, if you want to be a manager, look like one. And I don't think I was a mega famous player. I was sort of at Watford, not mega famous, but I played there and everyone knew me there. I thought we'll set the scene early. Burnley was slightly different. I went there and the history of the club is different. You know, I thought the fabric of it, the history of it, I just thought it fitted there. And I thought maybe when I got here, it'd gone full circle through that kind of, you know, the look kind of sidelines. And I thought maybe it's time to get a suit on here. Maybe it's someone, you know, the suit look might suit what I think the club at that time needed, which is stripping back a little bit and bringing back down and going, right, it needs to come back to rebuild type thing. Just a gut feeling on that one. I don't think it's forever. I don't think...
So you're not ruling out maybe in the future a bit of Stone Island or Kepa for you on the touchline?
I doubt, and I'm not that brandist in the sense of Stone Island. I doubt it'd be Stoney. But I doubt it'd be a Stoney.
What are we looking at for you?
I don't know. My norm, which people see me in, gig look or just norm look when I'm out and about, I very rarely get dressed up. So therefore... nice pair of decent, normal trainers that everyone wears, you know, black, white, bumpers, whatever. Decent pair of jeans, decent T-shirt and a jacket. That is my standard go-to. Almost everyone go, do you wear anything different than that? I go, no. I make enough decisions in my life. You know, it's that mad thing when you think, don't really have to keep looking in the mirror. I'm like, can I just not put a pair of T-shirt, a T-shirt and a pair of jeans on, a pair of trainers and a jacket? So I generally buy them all the time. So I sort of look the same but different all the time.
Do you like
gigs? I virtually wear that all the time.
Do you think it's really healthy for you as well that, you know, this job is 24/7? There is no escape. It's as simple as that, and it is on your mind 24/7. But when you go to a concert or you go to a gig, you can actually forget about it for a while. Definitely. I mean, I still play a bit of golf and all that usual stuff. But gigs I've found is a definite release. Like I said, I don't mind going on my own. I go to a few on my own, just mooch in at the back. Lead before the end, or I might know the band, and sometimes I might get an invite. Get a curly finger to pop back. Someone might know and say, they said, you want to pop back and just say hello, so that sort of thing. It's definitely a release. I look
around at different bands. I don't follow it. You know, it's another thing you got to remember. It's hard to explain, but people start prompting you. You know, oh, so and so are playing at so and so. You know, so I'm not always looking. I don't look around see what's on everywhere I go. But I just get messages from sometimes Stuart Pearce and I've seen so and so. You know what I mean? And you know, you just get a feel for these bands, and you start getting invites or a feel for what's going on. Sometimes I do check up. I check up Rock City a lot 'cause it's local. They're very kind to me, so I check them, and now and again I'll drop in there. You know, just send a message out. Could I have a couple of tickets? If you want anything back, no problem. Not always for money, by the way. I must make it clear, but because sometimes they're sold out. Well, they're sold out. Often by the time
you need a bit of help.
Yeah,
you come to it late.
lastminute.com, or because our schedule, you know, the schedule changes all the time.
Yeah.
So, you know, you might have, the Hives was a good one. I was waiting to see if the schedule changed because they were not on a Friday night. Obviously, that's not going to work for me. So I had to cancel that and then look for an alternative date. So things like that as well, you know, it just depends.
When, if you haven't slipped in at the back, or if you're at either Glastonbury or a gig, ever go front end, mosh pit?
Now, the mosh pit, I had a bit of that back in the day. What Crouchy does, I'm always like seeing Crouchy down at front of stadium gigs because I get on well with him, and I'm always like, big man, different class. But you know the weird thing about it, and you do know this, is strangely, it's sort of people, they can sort of construe you differently, or and some reason you get that odd thing where people like, why are you here when you should be doing whatever? And I'm like, what? What do you think I'm going to affect next Saturday's game by being at a concert this Saturday? Do you know what I mean? No, it's odd, but
you don't have to think about that seriously.
Oh,
do
you do, yeah. People video you just having a beer, and you're going, I'm having a beer. What story are you looking for?
Man drinks beer at concert.
Yeah. Big ginger, ugly bloke has beer at concert. Just happens to be a music fan and a football manager by chance, you know. So you do get really odd people about things like that, and I'm like, so you sort of, that's the only thing. Not be on your guard, but you have to be ready for. There's probably going to be someone who's going to make the alter story of what the story actually is. You know, or take a photo and try and make it into a story and stuff like that. That's got worse. Definitely got worse over the years. And for no reason, it's just people.
It's a shame. So let's say you're not having a good run of results at whatever club you're managing. Do you feel you can't be seen at a gig, you know, seen to be having a great time, laughing and joking and mosh pit or whatever?
Yeah. Yes, I can't do that. I can't do that. Because it just causes more aggravation than what it's worth. Not that I particularly do it, certainly not to make a scene. I'm very fortunate. I've been on the wings and I sort of, you know, like almost edge out the way a little bit, because if someone sees it, it's another weird story that goes about, I don't know what, but, you know, I'm just been invited on the wings of the stage to listen.
Can you afford to say I don't care?
I do to a degree. I mean, a lot of people remark on that. They go, fair play. A lot of people at the gigs don't get. They go, fair play. Great seeing. They'll say, you know, a lot of people go, I saw you in the wings. Fair play. I'd love to do that. But you only need one. You know, one changes the landscape massively now. One person with a phone can change everything that you have to then answer to over a moment that is nothing, suddenly becomes a moment that is something. And sometimes you're in the mood to go, sod it. Sometimes you're in the mood to go, nah. So, and results, of course, if results are good, they're not good, that changes people's perception of the truth. Strangely, it's like, well, I can't make them win just because I'm at a gig and that's a week later. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to affect my workload. You know, I'm 52. I know how to watch a gig and have a couple of beers and still work really hard. You know what I mean? It's really weird, that bit. But it's part of, you know, and that's the way it goes. You have to do the best you can to navigate your way through it while still being yourself in your private life and having a good time with your friends or whatever. But almost always, unfortunately, being on guard a little bit. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, it goes with the territory. You love this job. The rewards, both emotional and financial, are fantastic. And if there is a small price in certain areas to pay, then...
Fair play, fair way of putting it. I'm not moaning about it.
No.
We'll misconstrue that answer there. You know, it's like there's always something go, why is he moaning about?
Dyche complains football stops his love of music.
I'm not moaning about it. You've asked me a question, I'm just being honest about it. So you're right. I'm well aware of all the good stuff and the winning and the feeling and all that. But equally, there is a price to pay, like anything in life, the balance of life. And that is the downside.
Every action has consequences. How much does music affect your mood, and how much do you use music to affect your mood?
It depends. I would say enhances rather than always affects. You know, if I'm in that mood when I'm good mood anyway, winning obviously is a big thing for me. So that might just enhance your mood. It might just be whatever. You're going on holiday, you're in a good mood. You're going to a gig, you're with your mates, you're having a barbecue. That definitely. I don't always use it. Well, now and again, I suppose I do. I'm a bit fed up and a bit down. I might put a track on or a list of tracks on an album.
What's your go-to if you're on a lift?
Usually it's something that's familiar to me and I enjoy, like Sabian. That would be usually one. I'm trying to think what others. Rock generally. The old school Oasis stuff I still love. And both theirs individually. Noel particularly, I like a lot of what he's done. So yeah, it's stuff like that, not just them. Some of the old classics, just individual songs sometimes, 80s songs sometimes, 80s hit lists. You know, I always remember that from when you're going through your younger years, you know, and all the memories that can provoke or evoke. So,
did you ever try and learn an instrument?
No, I realise my skill set is not singing, as you can tell, although I think I can.
I was going to say, because it would be wrong of me to say, presumably you don't sing. Do you sing? Can you sing?
I do sing. My daughter was a decent singer, sort of still is, not as in professionally, but and she always says I've got a good tone, as in I can hit the right levels of a song, but not in the way that's got the clarity that is needed. I'm not going to do it now, just in case you wouldn't. No. There are certain songs that I can sing, let's put it that way.
Do you surprise people? Have you got a karaoke number?
Not a go-to. It would probably be Sabian or the Foo Fighters or the Killers, something like that. The Killers were awesome. I saw the Killers at Arsenal. It's me and my mate who's, you know, he's a restaurateur actually. I just said, look, I've got a couple of tickets, fancy it? God, they were awesome. You know, I'll tell you who was there. I'll give you an example of how big these bands. Sam Fender was there and he was supporting, who's doing a brilliant job. He's doing a brilliant job on his own. So he plays right, and I was with my mate, and he's really good. I've seen him in Nottingham. The Killers came on, you know, you go, oh no, that's the Killers. You know, that weird thing, and I was laughing to my mate. I said, right, so now this is how it works. Sam Fender's sitting in his dressing room now, right, and he's going, all right, that's the Killers. I've got to get to there. Because, you know, their engagement, delivery, preciseness, you know, of course.
There's a reason they've been at the level they've been at for this long.
Of course, but I thought it was a remarkable moment. If I'm now imagining, which I've done many times, I'm that guy who's the singer, and that guy who's been out there, I'll be thinking, right, what can I learn from these? Because that is bang on. That's what I thought of the Killers. I just thought, that is decent, you know what I mean? And that always rubs off on me when they perform at a level where you just go, the Foo Fighters, every time you see them, they just, they got that weird thing. And I know it's years of service and experience and all that. Foo Fighters walk into Glastonbury and they knock it out. And they knock it out as if it could be 100 or 100,000 or 200,000. It doesn't matter. You're getting everything I've got as if it was my first gig and my last gig. That is it. There's such an authenticity with singers who do that, I think. And you can't miss it. You know, you can sense it in your soul when you go, he's just smashing this as if it's his last ever gig. And that's a really powerful thing, I think.
When you say that, and I'm listening to what you're saying about why you admire certain musicians, in my head, I'm thinking you are sounding like the manager, and this is what you expect of all of your players every time. That professionalism, that respect for your craft, and that level of performance is minimum. And if you do that, you will have a long career.
There's definitely links between the business side and the performance side of music. Links in my thinking, you're right. I don't mean links just for footballers and musicians. I mean links in my thinking where you go, so how do they get that then? How do they get that edge to perform all of the time and then keep it? Because that's what the best footballers do. The best footballers, no matter what gets in the way. I'll give you an example in football in my lifetime. I always thought David Beckham was unbelievable in the sense of course, talented, of course. But, you know, no matter what was going on, he seemed to have this amazing ability to get on that football pitch, give you everything physically, and give you pure quality, and do it wherever he was. That's an incredibly powerful thing, I think, for a young footballer to go, right, so when your turn for the BS of football comes along, right, you make a few quid, and everyone goes through that period, you know, no matter what age you are, and make a few quid, you buy a car, and you do all that stuff. to do that and still just keep knocking out all the time with that energy and that desire and that quality, that's the real key. That's the key to pure success, I think. And there's only not a handful, but there's only so many people I've seen. I don't know David Beckham in particular. I met him once. I don't know him. But this is why I imagine it. You know, he's just got that edge about him that goes, yeah, say what you want, do what you want, put me in as many boxes you want. When that whistle blows, I'm that guy. I'm going to get it done. And he just plays in that way. And not just him, there's many others, but he was the biggest example because seeing him from a young player to all his life to where, well, even still where he is now, he's a world icon in many ways, still now. But to go through all that, I used to say to all the young players, he can handle it. And that's what you've got to learn to do. If you want to be the top of the top, you have to learn to handle all of the noise all of the time and still get on the pitch and deliver and still do the hard yards in training. So that would be, you know, Elton John once said about, I was asking about how you stay on top of it all the time. You know, the old favourite of amazing, pianist of the years, still playing the scales, to get right. Still playing the scales, starts with scales, scales. Get it right, get it right, get it wrong. Brilliant basics, Google call it brilliant basics. Get it right. Well, that's what you have to get right there, every day in training. So the point is, when I see musicians do it, I just say to young footballers, not always about music per se, but just say, look, to stay at the top and to get to the top. And I didn't get to the top, by the way. And I sort of reflect back and know the things that, but could you have?
Did you get to the level you played at? Mate, you had a long career, nearly 500 games as a pro.
Yeah, 20 years playing.
It's more than decent. But do you think you got the most out of the talent that you were given?
Yeah, I think that's a fair way of putting it. Yeah, I think I did maximise where I was at through a lot of injuries and all stuff like that. You still need a bit of luck in the right times. If you're not David Beckham, because I was a young player at Nottingham Forest, some incredibly young footballers, went backwards to come forwards through Chesterfield and earned my spurs somewhat. So yeah, that's fair. I've no regrets in my career. I mean, I thought I had a real go at it. But you're trying to give these guys something more than you had. You're trying to give more impetus. You're trying to give more information, more of the keys that might unlock the door for them. So it's the stuff I've learned and reflected on. Not always knocking my own career, just what I've learned that could help you get even further. I think that's where I'm at.
Do you think there is a synergy and/or a similarity between football and music?
Yeah, I think so. There certainly seems to be. They look at it that there is, by the way. So when you ask the musicians, well, for one, the usual thing is, not all, but they go, I'd love to be a footballer, and I'm going, I'd love to be a singer or in a band. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the whole point of this podcast.
Well, you're right, though. You're right, because people think it might be an old cliche. It is right. Not all bands, but a lot do that. And they often have we are sure about some of the best days of his life. Bear in mind, he's headlined Glastonbury. They're on their eighth album, all the things they've done. He talked about Soccer AM and scoring for Soccer Aid at Manchester United. Oh, Serge.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a goal as well. What a finish.
As you said, opened his body out, Thierry Henry style, chipped Dave Seaman.
Yeah.
Gets to the dressing room, Roy Keane says, was that a cross?
Yeah, I mean, and there are...
And he's buzzing off of it.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's a real lot who... and you meet in a lot, and the connection is there, and it's true, and it's valid, and they all stay in your lane. They stay in their lane, but that doesn't mean they don't think about, what it is. And Serge is a good example. I mean, Serge said during these years he had to have a look at the business side of it, and what are the band doing the business side. That weird moment, I'm sure he was going to tell you, and you look around and he said, I just went, who are these people? Who's that guy and that guy and that person, that person, that person? He said, I suddenly realised we'd let it just grow and not really kept an eye on it. So I started to go, right, okay, we need to reel this in. And that's sort of management. That's sort of when you go through your playing career. Because I was saying to them, it's like being a player. You're an apprentice, you become a young pro, then the young pro gets to a middle pro, and now it's becoming a bit more business-like. What's your contract? What's your future? Are you looking after yourself outside the game? You get to be an older pro, and now you're incredibly professional, but the fire might be burning a little bit less bright. But because you're so professional, so you still can turn it on and turn it on. You can still go out there and turn it on and do it right. Then it comes to the end of your career, and now let's imagine you're still in football, then you become a coach again. Well, when you become a coach again, you're almost like the apprentice again because you're starting again. And then you earn your spurs, and then maybe you become a manager. And if you become a manager, you're a young manager. So then the hunger and desire is there, and then it becomes a profession. And once it becomes a profession again, you're back in the cycle, you're back in the cycle. And the bands who start there for years said that's what it's like. It's very similar. So at first it's just a raw energy. We're having this write-off. We're a band. We're doing the things we love to do. Now you're out there for a few years and you start doing quite well, and now it's like, right, okay, am I looking after myself? You know, I don't know, you might have a family, am I looking after them? Am I looking after life? I'm putting a few quid away. And then you go into the production phase when they go, right, now I'm knocking it out as a business. You know, I'm actually knocking this out because the demand is there, I want to do this, and I'm refining it. And then going through the process again and again and again, you know, to keep finding that rawness, to keep going, and that edge to keep going. And I think that's part of what it is. Or some bands, that's certainly how we talk when I've spoken to them.
You never know where your football journey will take you, and you'll never know where it will end. But can you forever never see a day where you're not listening to music or going to gigs?
Football will go first, without a shadow of a doubt. Because music's, you know, forever, isn't it? You know, football, you can only go so long. Although some keep going forever and ever, it seems, but I don't think I will. But football will always be there. Sorry, music will always be there, because it literally will be. I know you can watch football, of course, but music's it's the first thing you know, or first thing I remember as a little kid, you know, is the music in your house, and obviously your family, but the atmosphere in your house and all that. So I think that'll be there a long time after, and I'm sort of nearly gone. You know what I mean? There'll still be a tune playing somewhere.
There's a long way to go.
Top man.
Thank you, bud. Thank you very much.